Chatting Shit with Ostique, the podcast series where we chat about shit with inspirational people from all walks of life. Today, we are joined by the wonderful and inspiring Lucy Jane. We hope you enjoy this conversation. So, Lucy Jane, welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So today's topic is all about style with a stoma. So I'm very excited to have you here with us today to talk to this topic. You're definitely the best person for this. To begin with, before we kind of get started, would you mind introducing yourself and just telling us a bit about your journey with ulcerative colitis?
Yeah, so I'm Lucy, known as Lucy Jane Fashion on the internet. And I guess my whole brand has become this like style with a stoma. Take it back to like 2017, that was when I was diagnosed with colitis. I was only 17, literally the week before my 18th birthday, and I was just like, why now? Anyway, I got diagnosed, and then I knew what it was because my nana had gone through the same thing when she was younger, but that was 50 years ago, and I thought, I'll be able to take a tablet, it'll be fine, I'll be sorted. And unfortunately for me, it was like 2 years from diagnosis. For 2 years, it was just up and downs of trying new drugs, them not working. And within that 2 years, I was constantly in a flare-up. Like, I was on steroids on and off the whole time. And it was just, I always say in that time, I was just existing. I wasn't living, because everything that I could do was like taken away from me. And it did feel like the illness like consumed my life. So when I ended up in hospital, it was February 2019, and ended up in hospital. I just went in for like a colonoscopy, and I knew I was really ill because I just stopped eating, and I was like not getting out of bed, and I knew that something was going to have to happen. And then they did the scope, and they were like, Lucy, your bowel's on fire. Like, we need to do something now. So when the idea of a stoma bag was suggested, it didn't scare me as much because my nana has lived with one, and I was always familiar with what it was. And all I thought was, well, she's like, now she's 86, like she's lived all this time with one, and I've never looked at her any differently. So I think that helped me a lot when the initial like suggestion of a stoma bag came into play. But obviously I was 19, like it was a big decision to make. But yeah, I had my surgery, and from that day on, like I'll always say I never look back, because it just gave me everything that in those 2 years I couldn't do, and everything that was taken away from me, and everything that I wanted to do. Like, it gave me that back within a few months of recovery. And I think because I had that mindset of like, right, this is like a new chance at life, I guess. Because I'm such a like go-getter. I'm like, I want to be doing, I want to be seeing, I want to be doing as much as I can. And I think it made me even more like that, the fact that I couldn't do that for 2 years. So yeah, I've lived with my stoma bag for 4 years now. And yeah, they've been pretty good 4 years, to be honest.
That's so wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
When we spoke a few weeks ago, you mentioned that you made a pros and cons list before your surgery.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you put?
I remember like the pros versus the cons for surgery. Like, the only con on my like list for having the stoma bag was I'm going to look different to everyone else. And to look at that and then look at everything else that I could do. And like, I've still got the book now that I wrote it in. I still got the list, and it's mad like what I wrote on it. It was like, you can be yourself, like you can literally like go to a festival, like little things like that I just couldn't do. Yeah. And the list was massive for the pros, and I think that really helped in my head way up, like, right, this isn't something that's going to hinder me. It's something that's going to make my life, like my quality of life, better and give me more opportunities than what I can do now.
Absolutely. In terms of your relationship with your body, obviously it's very difficult being a young woman in your teens anyway. You don't know who you are, your hormones are going mental. Like, the whole thing was very traumatic for me, as I assume it must have been for you as well. How did having the surgery impact your relationship with your body? Did it change it in any way?
I think in a weird way, it gave me more self-confidence. But then something that I've also sort of had to deal with is because I was diagnosed at 17 and it was such a young age, and like to get used to your body being looked at as like a problem. So I mean, when you're lying there having your colonoscopies and all that, like it's not a nice thing to do, but you just get used to it, don't you? Like you just get quite desensitized to it. And I think weirdly having my stoma bag gave me a lot of self-confidence, but then it's taken me a while to kind of have confidence in other people looking at me in that kind of way, if that makes sense, because I was throughout illness, you do just become, it's the norm to be lying there and people are like, your body's the problem, we're looking at it, like let's try and fix it. And then to kind of shift your mentality of like, oh, like I'm not the problem anymore kind of thing. I think that's been something that I've definitely worked on, and I think over the last sort of year or so I've got a lot more confident in that sense. But definitely like my self-confidence and like sharing like obviously stuff online and standing for that and just showing a stoma bag to the public, because some people don't know what it is. That's why people are like, oh, what's that kind of thing. I think my relationship in terms of my body and my bag that way has been pretty positive, because I just sort of threw myself into it and was like, if I show the world that I am confident, then nobody can like knock me down.
I absolutely love that. Tell me about Lucy Jane fashion. So you were very young when you started kind of blogging, weren't you?
So when I was like 12, I've always loved fashion, and like there's a picture of me when I was like 10 years old, and it's what you want to be when you're older day at school, and I'm there as a fashion designer. It's so
I love that.
My mum's like helped me made this costume. And then when I was like 12, I thought, I used to read other people's blogs, because Blogger was like the thing that everyone had, and that was where the fashion bloggers were. And when I stumbled upon it, I was like, this is really cool, like being able to share your own style. And I was always interested in like photography and writing and all that kind of stuff. So it was like compiling all this as a hobby. And I just started doing it, and my blog used to be called Infinity of Fashion. Don't know why.
Love that.
And I used to do that like religiously from being like 12 to maybe like 17. That was all on Blogger. And then it was just something that I did as a hobby, and I did some really cool things with it, but I never really looked at it and thought, oh, that's something that I could sort of make money off or turn into work, because I was so young and I followed all these girls that were like my age now. So I think I was trying to be this like cool person. I was literally a 13-year-old child. But it was all like, I'm glad that I started when I did. But then I guess so I carried on sort of doing bits whilst I was ill. That was kind of something that I could do. And like I started sort of writing more about how I was feeling and having it as like an outlet. And then Instagram became the platform that it is now, because that didn't used to be a platform for bloggers, really. It was more of a like personal use thing. And then sort of, I think, was it the year after my stoma? Because I didn't used to be Lucy Jane Fashion. I had just like Lucy SB. It was like my personal account. And then I just started sort of gaining followers and stuff. And I always shared my style, and I had my blog there as well, but it wasn't really doing anything crazy. And then when I kind of thought, oh, like stylish with a stoma, like there's a lot of things that I like to talk about. Obviously, I like my secondhand fashion as well. I was like, right, we're Lucy Jane Fashion, and we're just gonna roll with this. And then I'd say over the last 2 or 3 years, things have kind of just been ticking over, and and things are going well. And I think for me, it's more the opportunities that I've got from it than like the actual. I love the platform itself, but like social media, it can be a love-hate thing. But I think it's more the opportunities and the people I've met and that side of it that keeps me driving to want to do it, because baffled by some of the things I've done.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, and I'm assuming this is going to be one of those that you're like, I can't believe this happened, is London Fashion Week. Tell me about that.
That was incredible. So I ended up walking London Fashion Week in a catwalk.
I mean, it's a dream.
Yeah, I literally, if you'd have told like tiny Lucy, because I used to love America's Next Top Model and all that, so I'd watch that and I'd be like practicing my catwalk. And then, and then I got a message off a lady called Victoria, who she has the clothing brand Unhidden, which is like an adaptable clothing brand. And I met her at the start of last year, and then she put on some stories in around summertime last year about them being at Fashion Week. And I thought, I'm just going to reach out and be like, I'd love to attend, because I thought, I'd love to see the show and I'd love to be a part of something like that. Just thinking I'd go down for the day and kind of see it and then come home. Messaged her asking if I could attend, and she was like, well, actually, I was thinking of asking you to be in the show. And I was like, what? So, amazing. Yeah, and originally it was supposed to fall in September last year, but because of the Queen and everything, it had to be cancelled, and I was so gutted because I thought, everything's going wrong. But anyway, it ended up being moved over to February, and it fell like it was the day after my actual stoma operation. So it was weird because I'm quite like, I like celebrating the day of
yeah.
So it was the day after that. And it was just such a full circle moment to be like, 4 years later, I was sat in this room with like 25 other amazing individuals that have all got their own stories. And we're walking Fashion Week and we're kind of making history, because it was the first adaptable brand to be officially recognised by the British Fashion Council. So it was incredible. It was such an amazing day. I wish I could do it again.
Oh my God, yeah, every day. How amazing. That gave me goosebumps to be a part of something like that. That's incredible.
Just the atmosphere that day. It's crazy.
Oh, I can only imagine. I saw you do some posts around Fashion Week where you were matching your outfits with stoma bag covers, which I absolutely loved. Obviously, we have Ostique skins, and it's all about kind of expressing yourself through that. What kind of made you go down that route?
So I started doing that because in my head I was thinking, how can I incorporate raising awareness about having a stoma bag as well as like sharing my style? Because I always think at the end of the day, fashion was why I started it. Like, fashion was why I started a blog before all this, before illness and everything. And I do predominantly want to be like a fashion account, but if there's little things I can do like that to make people be like, oh, like this girl's she's not just like an influencer, she's got this bag and she's doing this. So I thought doing the matching my stoma to my outfit is kind of like a subtle way of getting people to see a stoma and be like, what's that? So I think that kind of stemmed from there. And then I thought Fashion Week's just an excuse to get dressed up anyway, and quite a lot of people looked at it, so it worked out quite well, because for me it's just about awareness with things like that.
It's a great platform to be able to do that, and I think also just to express yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes when I talk to people on this podcast, they kind of feel like they were able to find themselves again after the surgery, because they were able to live their lives, and actually maybe expressing who they are for the first time was something they were able to do after that. So I think loads of people will relate to that. In terms of, I'd love to hear your specifics, like tips and tricks about kind of style with a stoma, like maybe dressing at different points throughout the kind of recovery and then kind of post-surgery with a stoma.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of things that you think people should maybe wear or avoid in the months following the surgery?
So after my surgery, I just lived in like comfy things, because you're still very sore. For me, it was a lot of like midi skirts and like flowy things and flowy dresses and stuff. I tried to avoid, I mean, I'm not really a jeans wearer anyway, but I tried to avoid like thick fabrics and things like that, because anything that was like pushing on my bag, and because you're not really used to, oh, when do I actually need to empty it, and you don't know, like, I hate when you're wearing something tight and then it can just pop off. It's just not the vibe. But yeah, like the months after my surgery, I think I just wore mostly like comfy clothes, but then I don't remember having to change my wardrobe that much. And I think that was one thing that I didn't want to do anyway. I was like, I still want to wear all the stuff that I wore before, and especially sort of like bikinis and things. And I remember my first like holiday, we'd had a holiday booked, like I think it was 3 months after my surgery, so it was pretty soon after. And
yeah,
I was like, well, I think I bought like 2 high-waisted ones, and then I was like, I just want to try and wear my normal ones because they were what I already had. I liked them and I didn't want to spend loads of money. And it was me and my mum, and we went to Cyprus, and I wore this like just like a normal bikini like anyone else. So my stoma bag was out, and it was weird to do, but I just got used to it because people kind of looked. But then I always like telling this story because there was a guy who was trying to sell us like a water sports sort of, I don't know, experience. And he was walking around the beach with I think it was with his son, and he comes over and he's trying to sell us this thing. And I was like, no, sorry, I don't want to do that. And his son's like staring at my stoma bag, and I was just it was a bit uncomfortable. I thought, oh, like, he's obviously like, what's that sort of thing. Anyway, he walked off, and then this guy runs back over and he's like, I've got what you've got. And then he like pulled his top up and showed me his stoma bag. And I was like, oh my, like it was crazy. And then he told us he'd had bowel cancer and it had saved his life. And he was, because I said I'd literally only just had the surgery 3 months ago. And he was like, don't let it stop you doing anything. He was like, this gave me my life back. Like, I've got my business back. And I was like in floods of tears crying. Like, oh. But I always think if I hadn't have like embraced my bag in that moment, I wouldn't have met him. And I wouldn't have, like, what he said to me resonated so much because it was like, he was 5 years down the line and I was like so early on in my journey. So whenever I'm feeling like conscious or a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about that, I just think of him and I'm like, he was just made me want to embrace my stoma so much.
That is so wonderful. And I bet as much as you benefited from that experience of meeting him, I bet he really benefited from that as well. Whatever stage of the journey you're at, being able to meet with fellow ostomates and like have that connection and that understanding that you've been through a similar experience is really special and really important. In terms of some specific style tips, if I may, what are some great places to get comfy but gorgeous underwear if you have a stoma?
Ooh, so I'm
a difficult one.
Yeah, so I don't really wear. I know a lot of people like to wear more high-waisted things. And I remember I bought quite a lot from Monkey. They have some quite cute ones, but I don't really like wearing like high-waisted or anything. I just wear normal. So I always find it quite tough to suggest because I find normal and like not high-waisted underwear more comfy than wearing high-waisted. I can't really think.
No, that's fine. I was just wondering if you had any tips. What about if someone's concerned about ballooning, if that's something that just happens to happen to them quite a bit, what are some great outfit choices where you might not need to feel so concerned?
Ooh, I guess like anything, like dresses that kind of poof out a bit. Nothing that's tight, but I like wearing bodycon stuff, and if my bag balloons, I just think it's like if I'm with my friends, I'm just like, oh, I've got a little baby. I think like not seriously that I'm like, I just make a joke out of it, so I don't get conscious of that because I just laugh at myself a lot. But yeah, I guess anything that's not too tight. I really like just kind of long dresses and things like that. But one tip that when my bag does balloon, if I need to go to the toilet, I just put my handbag in front of my belly. So when I walk to the toilet,
that's a great tip.
I do. But I just, yeah.
That is a great tip. In terms of charity shops and thrift stores, I've seen you do so many amazing stories about this. What are your top tips for finding great pieces in places like that?
Ooh, so I'd say go in with an open mind because you never know what you're going to find. Look at everything because things that were a size 12 10 years ago are not a size 12 now. And like, I'd just say,
That's a good point.
scan everything and look at things that you like the colour of or you like the pattern of and see how you could maybe adapt it. I mean, I'm big on like DIY. So if that's something that you're interested, like if you can do, then I'd say look at things through that kind of lens as well. Like just whatever you gravitate to, think of it, how you could incorporate it into your wardrobe. And I just think have an open mind because I think the more you go with like, I need to find this, you probably won't. But if you've got an open mind and you just like, you want to treat yourself to something new or something a bit different, then most of the time you'll probably find that.
We're heading into, thank God, spring, summer now, and that means festival season is coming up. What are you thinking are going to be like the trends for this festival season?
Oh, I don't know. The thing is, I'm such a like crazy, colourful, out there, sequins, glitter kind of festival girl. But I know that last year it was a lot more like minimal, the vibe that a lot of people wore. I mean, I'm still wearing my sequins, but I think the trends overall, because I think people's styles at the moment is becoming more casual. It's like this whole streetwear kind of thing, which I love on other people, but it just doesn't look right on me. And I think that'll probably play into like festival outfits as well. It'll be the whole kind of streetwear, but for festivals. But I will be wearing the most colourful sequined outfit I can find.
I've seen you post about kind of wearing crazy, colourful, bright feathers, sequins, everything,
Yeah.
and mentioning that kind of people stare at you sometimes when you kind of walk down the street in these.
Yeah.
Does that ever bother you, or do you feel like confidence is about not caring and just being yourself?
Yeah, it does depend. I mean, not every day I wake up and want to wear something crazy, but if I'm with my friends or I'm with like I don't care. If I've got someone there, I'm like I really don't care. I'll wear whatever. On my own, I'd say I would, but I might be a bit more conscious. Just like if in regards to like if I was to wear like my massive purple jacket out and walk down the street on my own, like I know that people would look at me, but I do try and just be like, they either think it's nice or weird, and that's fine. You can't please everyone, can you?
No, you definitely can't please everyone. What would you say to somebody who has stoma surgery coming up? Is there any kind of tips as to what they might be able to expect or things that you think they maybe should be aware of?
I'd say watch as many videos and speak to as many people as you can and listen to as many podcasts, because for me, within I think it was 10 days I was in hospital before I had my surgery, and I just spoke to so many people to get reassurance, and like I just wanted to know that everything would be okay. And the people that I spoke to helped me so much. And like I have friends that I met like the time that I was in hospital through the Crohn's and Colitis Facebook group. There was another girl who was going through the same thing, and then we both ended up having our surgery like literally the same time with the same age, like had gone through the same journey, both from Manchester, and having her go through like to talk to, and like we talk about anything. We'd be like, does this look normal? Like send a picture of like what like our scar or something. But just talk. I'd just say talk to as many people as you can, and like let people be open to it, I guess, like your family and stuff, because I know it can be quite a taboo thing, and some people might be like, I don't want to tell anyone, like I don't, that kind of thing, and be kind of ashamed isn't the right word, but I remember a lady who was in hospital when I was, and that's what she said. She was like, I'm ashamed of having this stoma bag, and I was like, that's So sad because she was at like late 70s, and I was just like, I wanted to just somehow change her mindset, but I couldn't do that. But just be open to people wanting to help, and people like finding out things for you as well. Like, I know my nana was a great help in it. She'd be coming around to hospital every day and like being like, you need to eat these biscuits, like they make your output thicker and all this. I was like, thanks so much. But yeah, I'd just say try and talk to as many people as you can, listen to different things, watch videos, and just that it will be okay. It's a battle. It is a battle, and it's not easy, the recovery, but it's worth it.
Lucy, thank you so much for coming on, for giving loads of great advice, and for just being generally fabulous. I'm obsessed with your Instagram, and I'm sure everyone listening, anyone who isn't already following you, will be too. It was so lovely to have you on, and hopefully we can have you again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Speak soon. Bye. Have you seen the new Ostique skins yet? Ostique skins are revolutionary ostomy pouch covers that were created to make the wearer feel confident, sexy and powerful in all of life's moments. From moments of intimacy to lounging by the pool, conquering a workout or simply heading out to lunch, skins have you covered. Even better, they're compatible with all major colostomy and ileostomy bags. Ostique skins are available in a range of colours and skin tones, and they're made from a revolutionary material that's completely waterproof, high quality, soft and comfortable. Skins are easy to use, even with reduced dexterity, and they work with both closed and drainable bags. Plus, skins are also environmentally friendly and vegan. There are 4 bundles available to buy now, and you can also purchase individual skins. Head to ostique.co.uk to find out more.